foot on the ground.
Close enough. What's going on, everybody? And welcome back to another episode of Wrestling with Tomorrow, where we talk about confidence after setbacks. I'm your host, Mike Kinney, and with me today,
I am the Clubber Lang to your Rocky Balboa, Randy Harig, your favorite co-host, at least favorite co-host too, but nonetheless, the co-host.
well, Randy, your voice sounds better this week, so you're finally battling off this cold or whatever it was that you had.
Yeah, for the most part, I had a viral like sinus infection dealy thing, and it's pretty much just waited out, but my voice still hasn't 100% recovered. But to your dismay, I have enough power and clarity that I can still shoot down any stupid crap you say. You know, like segue.
I don't ever say that anymore. I'm becoming a pro who doesn't have to say it. I'm telling you, it's
I
all in
think
the learning.
it's all in the hips. Yeah, it's all in the hips. Come on. Just easing the tension, baby. Just easing the tension.
Well, let's ease the
Come on.
tension a little bit more here.
Ease it on someone else. Come on.
Let's you sound like you belong on an episode of Sanford and Son. Like your voice is, I mean, that's where we're at.
Lamar, you big dummy.
Hey, while Randy is this is him sober, by the way. He hasn't even been drinking. Hey, let's talk just a few minutes. We had to break some unfortunate news last week to all of our fans on social media about our April 11th Lucha Union show. We just want to be able to touch upon it quickly so that you hear it, kind of in an official manner that's beyond social media. Look, we had to kind of punt on this deal. There's a lot of craziness going on. Randy and I are both domiciled out of Minnesota specifically. I'm in the Twin Cities. He's a little bit south of that, and the Twin Cities is, as we record this, it's an uneasy environment, and there's no end in sight. And since our audience is a primarily Latin audience, we decided that it would be best for everyone. We talked with the owners of the ballroom and just everybody involved to keep everybody safe, fans, wrestlers, and staff alike, that we were going to postpone that April show.
Yes. Postpone, not cancel. It will happen at a later date. And if you've been living in a cave and you don't know what he's referring to, with all the immigration things and the tension in the cities right now, no matter what side you are on it, we just want everybody to be safe.
Yeah.
We're not taking nothing with this. We just don't want anything to happen. Our show will be a good experience. No danger to the fans. That's very important. So just a frog hair clarity in case you're not, one watching the news. I mean, it's hard to not see it now, but it gets crazier every day up here. So hold on to your hats. Hopefully that gets out of here and done sooner than later, but
yeah,
it will happen. We will do it. So don't worry about that. We will do it, but we're going to make sure it's all good first.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There's one of my mentors told me there's always time to make a good decision. So shout out to Steve Gabor. But and that's so true, because that's where we're at right now, and it's just best for everybody.
And Jaja Gabor too.
She's great. All right, dude. That kind of like, what else do we have to say about Lucha Union? I mean, at this point, it's just kind of it's on the shelf. It's on the shelf, and we will let you know when something else gets booked, guys. Other than that, we're just going to kind of take her easy when it comes to that product.
This, you can know this. We did have a lot of talent booked for the show. Mm-hmm. We contacted them. They were also very thankful to not be put in harm's way as well. So, although it's not happening on April 11th, we are actively working on the show and looking beyond. So, don't think that it's just on the shelf and we're not thinking about it. We're thinking about it all the time.
That is very true. And so
Yes.
for now, we don't have any more news for you about it. When we do, you'll be the first to know. So hang tight.
Yep.
All right. So let's just dive into the material of the podcast itself, Randy. I was thinking a lot about, behind the scenes right now, I'm working on a lot for my keynote. It's 60-minute version essentially of my TED Talk, but very much expanded. And there's one thing that really got me, like, I was just thinking about it over and over and over again, is that like identity crisis that people have. When I started this podcast, I was interviewing people that had a very specific path in life, and they had to make adjustments for one reason or another, because that very specific path didn't work out. And one thing I always wanted to touch upon is, what does that do to your identity, right? What happens in that moment? So I guess I'm going to just ask you, I don't know if I've ever asked you this before. Do you remember your last wrestling match? I know what it is. I want to see if you remember.
You do?
I do, yeah.
My last match.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What do you think my last match is?
I had to have been 2005 AWO reunion show, you versus Shimdog. Is that right?
I think that sounds right.
I think so. So let me ask you a follow-up to that then. I know that you had varying ins and outs with wrestling. And what I mean by that is, like, you were a wrestler, you were a manager, like a, on-screen manager, you were a behind the scenes guy, you were a promoter, like all that stuff.
Yep.
When you kind of like were weaving in and out of all of these different versions of this crazy dream that we call professional wrestling, did that do anything to your personal identity? Did you suffer any drawbacks to that? Like, what did that do to you mentally?
Well, see, when I wrestled, started off with that. I loved wrestling, see little kids and sign a picture for them or whatever. It was the coolest thing ever. But, going on and on with it, I kind of thought, maybe I am not physically able to give them the kind of match that I want to.
Okay.
So I pivoted into a manager role where, all right, I've had some matches. I know a few things about wrestling. I'm no expert, but I'm happy to help the young guys if they need a mouthpiece or just someone to throw some ideas at them.
Sure.
Take it or leave it. So the manager thing was great, and I decided not that far after that I wanted to be the storyteller. I wanted to watch the people come in and watch their mood go up and down and play them like a fiddle, and have them feel the way I want them to, which, ideally, if you can grab them, it's like the two guys in the ring. If you can get a hold of them and get them to do what you want to do, you know, what a wonderful thing, and for people to appreciate without really knowing this side of it. Like, oh man, that was a great show. I had such a fun time. I wanted to be that guy. My creativity wouldn't have ever gotten the quench that it did wrestling or just being a manager. That was fun as hell. It was great, and I loved every minute of it. But I just realized that my fate or future in the business would be something behind the scenes. If I can help, or if I can write some story that's, write some funny matches or some good angles and stuff that keep people interested, that's where my heart went.
So what I'm hearing you saying is that, like, when you left as a competitor in the ring, you
Yep.
didn't really suffer in the way that some people do. The way that, I mean, frankly, the way that I do,
Correct.
you know?
No, I never felt like, you know, I'm done wrestling and that's it. And now I have a big hole in my heart.
Yeah.
Um, I never had a retirement match. So even when I went and managed a little bit, I had a couple of matches there that were not going to be a 5-star classic. They weren't supposed to be,
Yeah.
you know, but like I was never really done. I never said I'm done and I'll never wrestle again. It never hit me like that because I never proclaimed that's it now. I'm done and I'm walking away. I still wanted to be part of the business. So I just kind of pivoted, you
Yeah.
know? And so like the identity of myself, like I realized my wrestling identity or my manager identity wasn't where I really truly wanted to be. I loved it, like I said, but my heart went to the backstage area, and that's
Mhm.
where I changed my identity. So I don't know, fan wise or other wrestler wise, I don't know how my identity changed in their eyes,
Sure.
but I know how it did for me. It went the way that I wanted it to.
Yeah, and that's rare because you and I were just talking about that last week, like Hulk Hogan specifically. Hogan didn't have a retirement match, and not very many people do. They never know when their last match is, which is kind of an odd thing to
That's
say
right.
out loud. Like
Mhm.
only the lucky ones really do have a retirement match. Hogan's last match was just some like random TNA show. He didn't know it was his last match. It was never advertised as his last match or anything like that. But
Yep.
and I look back like when I left the wrestling business in 2007, in my mind, I was like, okay, I'll have a retirement match because then it'll be like a hard stop for me. It'll be closure. It'll be final, like very, very, very final.
Right.
And I won't have any issues with that because I'll not be like, it's closure, right? And
Right.
man, I couldn't have been more wrong because what I didn't realize was, and I start looking back again, I've told you this before, that last year that I was in the business where I knew that I was going to be done,
Yep.
my hair was growing out and started to wear
What?
all black. And yeah, there's photos of my hair a little bit longer. Um,
I
I just,
remember the skull mask thing,
yeah, I started covering
like
my
the
face
skull
up and
bandana, the lower
yeah,
skull.
yeah.
Yep.
And it was a very weird, but what was happening, looking back on it now, it's very obvious is what was happening, but it was like I was slipping into a depression. And it was because wrestling was all I ever wanted to do, right?
Right.
And have I ever told you the Miss Smith story? Have I ever told that story here?
I
Okay, I'm
don't
gonna circle back.
remember. I don't
Okay,
know.
remind me to tell you the Miss Smith story. But wrestling was all I ever wanted to do, and so for me, I didn't know what I was going to do next, but I thought I was doing the right thing by saying like, "See you later, wrestling. I'm out of here." And
Right.
then but I wasn't truly leaving on my own terms. I was leaving because I was hurt and I couldn't perform anymore. And
Well,
and
and
that's
and you
different.
had the circumstances too with the kids and
For
the
sure.
family
Like,
stuff also. So
I wonder sometimes though what my life would have been like if I wasn't hurt when my wife got pregnant. Would I have pumped the brakes from being on the road? Would I have stopped chasing that crazy dream? What would I have done? What Let me ask you that. Knowing me as well as you do, what do you think I would have done? Because I don't know the answer to that.
well, I think that you would still take a lot of interest in the kids and your wife and everything, but I don't think you'd have quit.
I don't think so either.
And that's just being honest, not meaning something bad or something good by it, just saying, you were in the midst, towards the end, you were chasing some Japanese dream of
Yeah.
going across and doing some work over there. I think that would have happened, or if it didn't happen, it'd be something you regretted and were still chasing. and
Probably.
trying to balance that and wife and kid stuff,
Yeah, I think
like so many on the road do.
I got my Japan deal in March of '07. I was done wrestling in July. And so I was supposed to go to Japan in May. So
Yep,
May, because I remember I was in college. And so it was like as soon as school was done, there was a tour that was going to pick up for 5 weeks and I was going to go.
yep,
What I think would have happened is I would have gone and I would have liked it and I would have kept wanting to go back and now think about that. 5 weeks is a long time. What if I would
yes,
have, like after my daughter, after she was born, she would have been born that December. So let's say the following year, I'm still wrestling. I got to be gone 5 weeks, you know,
yep.
and I want to live in a world where I would say I wouldn't have gone, but I don't know how realistic that is to say that.
Oh, and food for thought too. If you're gonna go around November, ish, come back in December, you very well the next year could have been gone during her first birthday.
That's true.
We don't know, but
We don't
it
know. It's all
it
speculation.
could
Yeah,
have
yeah,
happened if
yeah,
it was an annual type 5 weeks during that part of the year.
yeah,
It very well could have been, and I
yeah,
think you would have struggled with that.
yeah. I think so too.
And I think that your family, you and your wife would have struggled with it together too. If you get what I'm saying, it probably wouldn't be very cool,
I'm
that
sure,
sort of deal. And I
but
think anybody's wife and stuff would be like that, like what it's
yeah,
their
yeah,
birthday, what the heck.
yeah.
I don't mean nothing towards you guys or anything in particular, just
No, no. This is just all
anybody. Yeah,
speculation, right? So
yes, yes.
I think that, um, like chasing the Japan dream for a while there, that was like it. And then it fell in my lap. Well, I didn't really fall in my lap. I was working toward it. And I know that I would have been pretty stubborn about it, but I don't know, man. Who knows? Maybe I would have been like, you know what? This ain't worth it. I'm going to stay home. Cause I have been on trips before, like long trips and wrestling related, where it's like, I want to go home. And that's after just like 2 weeks. I'm a big baby like that.
Right.
I'm like, I've always been, I wouldn't say homesick is the right word, but I'm a homebody. I enjoy being at home. Like COVID sucked, but it was great. Like I didn't have to go anywhere.
Right.
Um, so I do enjoy just sitting at home. So who knows, man? But thinking through all this, I also got to thinking about like when I was first breaking into wrestling, and I think you were a lot in the same way. You know, I was trying to figure out who I was as a person,
Oh, yeah.
and I wasn't very confident in my wrestling ability at all. You think back, like I was wearing a t-shirt and camouflage pants, but I was borrowing from people. Um, I was borrowing people, and when you don't know who you are, you start borrowing from other people to look confident, right?
I did it
Co-
too.
I mean, copying feels a lot safer than committing, and so that
Sure.
was the whole idea behind what was happening in the beginning and I'm wearing the Sandman's t-shirt today because
Yo.
I was very much doing Sandman stuff early on, and I love the Sandman, right? But again, I was borrowing from him. He was very very confident. I was borrowing from Taz. I was borrowing from Shane Douglas. You were borrowing from Raven. You were borrowing from Balls Mahoney. I mean, there was like all these things happening, and it was just what we were doing because we just weren't confident enough in the ability that we had at that time.
Mhm.
So again, copying sometimes just feels safer.
I don't know if we ever talked about it, but um, do you know kind of why I kind of patterned after Raven? Do you
So,
know that?
like specifically why? I mean, Raven is amazing. Like, if he's fantastic. So, I mean, looking at Raven, it's very easy to see why people would, but I don't know specifically as to why you did.
I wasn't, when I started, I didn't have any idea what I wanted to do or what my outfit would look like, my gear or anything like that. So I thought, Raven, he wears shorts and a t-shirt.
Hmm.
Well, I can wear heavy metal t-shirts and stuff like that, and I don't have to wear the little undies the little trunks
Hey, they're
or
very
whatever.
comfortable. They're very
I'm not
they're very
I'm not
comfortable.
I'm not saying that, but in the beginning where you're not so sure
Yeah.
how comfortable you're gonna be out there in front of somebody in your underwear,
Yep.
essentially,
Yep.
I'm like, "Okay, that I can do."
Yep.
Raven also, oh, he did the even flow, he did the DDT. I could do that to anybody.
Sure.
It's not doing something where you there's a big guy against you and you're like, "Fuck, I can't do it."
Yep.
That's
Yep.
a thing. So that worked perfectly for that. And then I just remember, you know, you had the Singapore cane.
Yeah.
You were doing the sort of Sandman thing.
Mhm.
Shane was kind of doing the Sabu pants
Yep.
and that stuff. And we had a whole array of characters. But I thought, there's really nobody else that brings out weapons with them. I can paint a chair and bring it out. So I adopted that from Balls
Balls of Mahoney.
because
Yep.
I thought that's awesome. And I can give my chair away every time, and people will look forward to that. And my friend Kevin, he still has the chair that I gave him. It's one of the first ones.
Oh, really?
He still has it.
That's very cool.
Yep. It's super cool. So it
Yeah.
just funny nostalgic thing for me, but
Yeah.
that's why I did what I did.
Very cool.
So I could execute it and I could feel comfortable, being out in front of a bunch of people and doing stuff that I hadn't done before anyways,
Sure.
that I
Yep.
loved, but you don't want to go out and crap the bed,
Right.
so
Yep.
and then,
But again,
Grizz and I, we've been friends since elementary school and stuff. So when we did the Guardians of Hell thing right away, we kind of patterned after Harlem Heat a little bit with our leather scullies with the fire and our little hot topic vests, to kind of match a little bit. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff.
dude, think about that though. I mean, in order for us to gain confidence in the early days of our wrestling careers, we had to borrow from people who were confident. And you just listed off
Absolutely.
half a dozen wrestlers that you borrowed from, and there's nothing wrong with it because I can tell you very specifically. I specifically remember the first time I wrestled without a shirt on, and I'm going to tell you where it was, and it's a horrible story. And it was my first match after I had started going to a larger wrestling camp. It was for MPW. It was
Yes.
my first match, and it was an outdoor show. It was it's where IKEA is now, if you know the area around the Mall of America. But
Sure.
that was an empty parking lot, and the Xbox was just launching, and Microsoft was having this huge like festival over there in this empty parking lot across from the Mall of America, and they booked professional wrestling to be a part of that show. And I was on
Wow.
that show. Yeah, that was my first MPW match was outdoors, and it was a summer day,
Oh,
and there was no real locker room. We were kind of sitting outside in the sun, and some of the older wrestlers had ribbed me, and I was fully convinced that I was going to not wrestle with a shirt on. Okay, but I also burn in the sun after about 5 minutes. 10 minutes, like if for real though, 10 minutes. 10 minutes, I'm starting to get red and hot. I mean, it don't take me long, man.
I
Yeah.
get lobstery. Yep.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And so, but right, I'm gonna take my shirt off and I'm gonna wrestle. And I still got the camouflage pants, but the shirt's coming off. And they're like, "Hey, kid, make sure you put baby oil on so you really glow. You really get that shine on your muscular physique," which I didn't have anyway. But yeah, that he was one of the guys.
Kevin Kruger.
Yeah, Kevin Kruger was one of the guys. And so anyway, we get the baby oil out, right? Now I'm glossy. And boy, it didn't take long for me to end up like a piece of fish on a hot skillet, man. I mean, I got into that ring, and the canvas had been sitting out in that sun all day long,
Oh shit.
and it was an asphalt parking lot, so it was super hot out there.
Yeah.
And to make matters worse, one of the guys that I really, really looked up to in the Minnesota independent wrestling scene at the time his name was Horace the Psychopath. He was in the audience, and it was a very small crowd of maybe 100 people, and he was right there were guardrails around the ring, which I thought was super cool. It was my first time with the guardrails, and he was right in front, and I was just like, I really wanted to impress him, but I was taking bumps on that hot ass canvas on top of already being just blistery sunburnt going out there, dude. But that was the first time I ever wrestled without a shirt, without a shirt on. And honestly, I probably only had 2 or 3 matches like that before I decided that I had figured out just in those couple of interactions that I was comfortable enough in my own skin to wear something that looked a little bit more professional. And I thought, if someone like Dusty Rhodes, and I wasn't nearly the size of Dusty Rhodes, but
No.
if Dusty could be confident wearing trunks, by God, then I can too. And so I
Yep.
decided to think like that was my most logical next step was if I'm a pro, I'm gonna look like a pro, I'm gonna dress like a pro, I'm gonna act like a pro. And trunks are just like, I told you, man, I was a Hulk Hogan kid. So like the
That's a
Hulkster
thing.
wore trunks, that's it.
Yep.
So again, not necessarily emulating people to increase my confidence, but I did feel more confident knowing that there were guys that were bigger than me that were wearing those kinds of things that I could go out and perform to the best of my ability, and really fully commit to it.
Well, and another thing too is I remember when Big Daddy Dolan did it,
Yeah, and
and
so
people were just shocked,
yeah, so
and I thought
everybody
this
that's
is
listening to this doesn't
brilliant.
necessarily. Yeah, so
Right.
Big
Go
Daddy
ahead.
Dolan, Big Daddy Dolan was about 450 pounds ish. And I swear to you all to this day, if you have never seen Big Daddy Dolan wrestle, he doesn't wrestle anymore. He had a motorcycle accident and ended up having to have gastric bypass. And
Yep.
to help he had to have his spine fused together after the accident. Never wrestled again. But I will tell you this. He was one of the guys that came up with us from the Albert Lee area when we were all breaking. We all kind of broke in together. And he was actually at our first Lucha Union show, and he was a big part of that. And I adore him. He
Oh
was
yeah.
he was in my wedding. Like I adore him to death. And the thing is that, and I told him this, and I think you were there, that he was as graceful a big man as anybody I've ever seen, which includes Bam Bam Bigelow, Yokozuna. I mean, he was graceful. I let that man, I wrestled him so many times on the independent scene, and he wrestled with his shirt off, and it was like a big reveal. He wore big baggy pants, but he would come to the ring with a t-shirt on, and then the big reveal was he'd take that thing off, and he was very much a showman. He was always a bad guy in the ring too. And so
Oh, the
like,
crowd would just eat him
oh,
up.
he was great. And
Yep.
I truly, truly feel like if he stayed physically healthy and didn't have that accident, I think he could have gone a long way in the wrestling business. I truly believe that he could cut a promo. He took care of people in the ring. He understood the business. He loved the business. It still does. And it's such a heartbreaker to know that, that one accident took it all away. But
Do you
yeah.
remember the promo that he did where he was mad on the microphone? He goes, "I'm the man of the hour." I will never forget it. And
Where was
Jay,
that at?
you see this? I think it was in Albert Lee, but I'm not 100% sure. But his family was there and they went ape.
Oh,
They just went
really?
ape. Yeah, he goes, "I'm the man of the hour." It was great.
I believe
Yeah,
it.
I'll never forget that. That was, if an independent can have some mic work that you remember after all these
Yeah.
years, that was certainly something there. I
Well,
miss seeing him wrestle. It was fun.
yeah, it really was, and it was fun to wrestle against him. It was fun to tag with him. I got to be his tag team partner on a couple of occasions, and I traveled with him a lot, especially kind of like in '04 and '05.
Well,
A lot, a lot.
back when I went down to PCW in Sioux City, I managed him and Casanova as Big and Tasty.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But Casanova was big, and Big Daddy Dolan, the big dude, was
He was
tasty,
tasty. Yep,
and
I
it was
believe that.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
So before I forget, and we go on to
And
the
he
next one.
and he buttered the bread too, just like
Yes, he
Kevin
did.
Kruger.
I got to tell you the Miss Smith story. You ready for this? I was thinking about this because I want it to be. I was writing part of my keynote, and I remembered, and I told this story. There you go. Crack one
Yo.
open, fire one up. Time to get extreme. So I told this story, some of it in my book, And so Miss Smith. So all I ever wanted to be was a pro wrestler. That is it. And Hulk Hogan is my guy. So anybody who's listening to this podcast and listens to every episode, they know this about me. Mike's always wanted to wrestle, loves Hulk Hogan, period. So first grade, Sumner Elementary, Austin, Minnesota, Miss Smith. Now, Miss Smith was old school, man. She, by the time she was teaching me, she was kind of at the twilight of her career. And she was not a nice woman. She was not. And I don't know why, but I truly believe in my heart of hearts she hated children. And there was one day, and she always wore like
this job wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't for the damn students.
Right. You know, she always dressed real nice. And we had, you sit in rows in a classroom, and I just remember whenever she would walk by, like whatever we're working on, like her like plaid wool skirt would like, brush against your arm like a tentacle. Like it would just get away, Miss Smith. She always had this thing about her.
That's what you thought.
True. Well, I had thought a lot, but it's first grade, right? There was this thing that she did that drove me nuts. I still think about it today, where she would try to get the students to quiet down. And I hope it comes across on the microphone, but I'm going to try to do it how she did it. She would go like this. So like she's saying shit without the I. Yeah. Yeah, constantly doing that. So anyway, man, there was one day where she said, all right, class, here's what we're going to do. We are going to draw what we want to be when we grow up. Or you're going to draw what you want to be when you grow up. And I thought, man, I've got this is a slam dunk. No problem. I know exactly what I'm going to draw, Miss Smith. So everybody's quiet. She was very orderly like that. So everybody's quiet. And I'm going to town. I'm going to town. I am drawing like a madman. And I'm looking over, got my buddy Joe next to me, and he's drawing a policeman. And I got, the dude over here, he's drawing a fireman, and, the doctors and all of it, right? All the basic blocking and tackling jobs and careers, whatever. And you know what I drew? I drew Hulk Hogan.
That's right, brother.
I drew Hulk Hogan. So now here comes the, octopus skirt walking around, and she gets over, and she's like, telling, oh, that's a very lovely picture and this and that. And she gets over to me and she says, Michael, and I hate when people call me Michael. There are only two people in this world that it's okay, 2.5, I'll say 2.5 to call me Michael. My mom, my sister, and half is my wife.
Sheena.
And that half is only when I get in trouble. Okay. So 2.5 people. But Miss Smith was not one of those 2.5 people. So she said, Michael, what is that you're drawing? And I said, well, this is Hulk Hogan, Miss Smith, and I want to be a professional wrestler. And she looked at me and she said, Michael Kinney, professional wrestling is not a career. Draw something else. And I was like, oh man, the Dream Crusher. That's what I called her in my book. I called her the Dream Crusher. And she's dead now. And
boy, that went south.
I didn't have anything to do with it. I told you she was at the twilight of her career, and that was a long time ago.
Don't you ever shoot down my dreams.
But you know what, man? Like, I'm a first grade kid, and I never forgotten that. Like, she tried to tell me in first grade I couldn't be a pro wrestler. Gosh darn well, if you know me at all, like, you don't tell me not to do something, because then I'm going to do it. And lo and behold, I got her done.
Hulk Hogan made more money by accident than she did on purpose.
That's true.
It's not a career. Duh. I got a wooden spoon.
Oh, yes. So anyway,
Hulk Hogan made more money on his days off than she did working her whole career. Jeez,
why do you think so? Have you ever watched any interviews with him? Like actual interviews, like not in the ring, but like,
not a whole ton, but some.
I've shoot interview type stuff. Do you think that there's a big difference between Hulk Hogan the performer and Hulk Hogan the character, or whatever?
Yes.
Okay.
Don't you?
I do. I absolutely
do. Okay. So okay. Yep.
I do think that there are differences also between what would be the differences between what would be characters and performers. So let's kind
Sure.
of lay that out really quickly.
All right.
In wrestling, in life, whatever, how do you differentiate a character from a performer?
I would say if you're looking at wrestling, a character is somebody that has a gimmick that stands way out differently than others. A performer, I would say, is someone more in tune with the technical side of things. I would say more interested in the performing and doing fantastic matches versus being Kamala, the Ugandan giant, you know,
Yeah.
or like the Bushwhackers, or even like Danhausen, or like they're guys around and they have their little thing, but they're not going to put a 5-star match on for you. So like that's the difference that I see. What are you referring to?
I mean, it could be anything really. Like if you're talking wrestling, let me pull it out and make it
No,
applicable
no,
to
no, no. It's not that kind
I'm
of
gonna
show.
oh, fair enough. Let
Holy
me
smoke.
let me take
Shh,
pieces
shh, Michael, shh.
let me take pieces of the wrestling elements and apply them to real life scenarios. So I think
Yep.
about when I worked and I worked in a corporate environment for 14 years. I think about very specifically. So if we're talking characters versus performers, I worked for a woman who was my direct manager, acted very differently when there was more people around. She was more like
Well,
bubbly and I'm super fun and cool. Look at me, everybody. And hey, and you'd get behind closed doors with her, and she was Medusa, bro. She was brutal to be around. She hated everybody with a passion, and she was just a mean spirited woman. Oh, golly. I
one of
hated
those,
working
one of
for her.
those. Oh, I haven't seen you forever. It's so nice to see you. I have to go in here and take this call. Close the door and goes, bitch.
Yeah, pretty
Like,
much.
yep.
I mean, but that's how she was, and it was like there was a point even where, like, it was pretty tough to expose her to some of the other management because everybody would just had this great impression of her. But for me, that was a character. Like she wasn't a performer because I'll tell you what a performer is. A performer is someone who doesn't have to pretend. A performer can show up and just turn the volume up a little bit to become the best version of themselves they possibly can. That is a performer. They take the best qualities
Sure.
of themselves and they turn it up. So a character is just the complete opposite of that, in my opinion. A character is someone who's phony, someone who's putting on a show, someone
Sure.
who's just trying to persuade you to think that they are something that they are truly not. They're not
Yep.
turning anything up to do that. They're they're phonies.
You're putting on a little song and dance instead of actually doing something of substance.
Yeah. Yep. And again, you back to wrestling, the best performers were never pretending, right? They were
Nope.
never pretending. They were just themselves with the volume turned up.
And see, I worked on a little list of this once I started looking at it, and I looked at it from the wrestling angle,
Sure.
figuring that you were looking at it from the business point, the business
Mhm.
point, or the you know confidence point
Sure.
versus. So I wrote down some stuff. So like characters, you got like Sergeant Slaughter,
Mhm.
Kamala, Orange Cassidy, maybe even like Big Van Vader, Demolition, those kind of guys. They're like, oh shit, when you see them come out.
Yeah.
You got your performers. So you got, Danielson, AJ Styles, like maybe Will Osprey, or like Kenny Omega, Cody Rhodes, those sort of guys that do their thing in the ring. They don't come out as a Ugandan headhunter or a drill instructor or a policeman or.
Yeah.
Okay, then you got your tuned up guys. Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, Roddy Piper, uh, Road Warriors, Junkyard Dog, Superfly, Dusty Rhodes, Sting. Not all those guys were the best workers. but they
Sure.
were the guys that were the big deal on the show to see.
Yeah. Yep.
And then I wrote down some that were all of those things, and that's the rare things, like Bobby the Brain Heenan. He could wrestle well, but he could do the mic, he could do TV, he could do anything larger than life.
Yeah.
The Undertaker, another one that he can work in the ring, but he has a character, but he can do kind of the whole thing. Randy Savage, Bray Wyatt. And you might say Bray was just a turned up guy, but he can work a little better than some of those guys. So I thought maybe we'll teeter this way. You know, Jake the Snake, uh, Terry Funk, maybe Rob Van Dam when he was doing the ECW thing and he was such a big, the whole show, doing that thing. So, yeah.
Great examples.
Hey,
I don't necessarily know that we can do it for the, quote unquote real world, but I think a lot of people out there are thinking about,
let's try.
Well,
who are characters that don't do a goddamn thing, but they act like they do? You know anybody? Any celebs?
I don't know them personally enough to say
But
that.
Public perception, not
I think that
a piece of crap.
I think that everybody listening can identify in their own minds, as we've really classified the difference between characters and performers, right? And so we all kind of have an idea of like best case scenario of what a character is if we see it on TV in our professional lives, whatever it is, and those with the performers. So what my challenge for everybody out there is, which one are you? Which one are you doing? Are you putting on a show for people? Are you being someone that they want you to be? Are you doing stuff that is necessarily out of character for you so that you can just get through your day, get to the next promotion, get to the next whatever? Or are you a performer? Are you taking everything else that you're good at, making everybody else better around you? You're turning all that up. You're just turning it all up. Sometimes what I've found, like, because that's me, I've always struggled with that too, because there's certain people that don't like my management style, and it usually isn't the people that work for me, because I am honest almost to a fault. I will walk them all the way up to that line, that gray, that line of almost too far, and then I'll pull them back just a little bit. But I don't lie to my people, and I don't have a reason to be anybody but me in front of them. I stay very professional in front of them. I'm usually very level-headed. I can move the needle, but sometimes it takes me a little bit longer to move the needle because I gain the trust of my people before I ask them to do, to really like dial in and work hard. I ask them to work hard, but when it comes to like the actual getting them to change patterns about their day to day, that's much, much tougher. And sometimes that takes time. And that's what sometimes upper management doesn't understand that. And I found that to be pretty consistent anywhere I've ever worked, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just, I know it about me. That's who I am. I'm a performer. I have to show up. I have to turn it up. And sometimes I have to know when to turn it down, because it's tough too. It is. It just is, man. Randy's sitting here smiling at me, but sometimes it's tough to turn it down. But I'll tell you this, though. What it's done for me over time, the ability to turn up over and over and over again, it's helped me have a clear idea about who I am. My identity has really started to take shape over the last decade or so. And I think that's created some serious consistency in who I am as a personal human being and in my professional life as well. So I do think that identity does create consistency.
Agreed. Yeah.
I do know that, like, when, leaving wrestling the first time, there was I didn't know who I was. And so because of that, I really, really struggled. I dabbled in this, I dabbled in that. I made a lot of bad decisions, but eventually I did have to figure it out. I had, fork in the road and so on and so forth. But I will tell you this, when identity is clear, a lot of the decisions that you make are much, much easier to do. You fast forward to me just having that match on November 1st, just a few months ago. It was like, man, I knew exactly who I was in that moment. There wasn't any doubt about it. In fact, there was such a gray area where I think Aaron said it to me as well, right? And we've talked about it on the podcast. Is this one of those issues where like there's so much the lines between Gator McGraw and Mike Kinney were so blurred that Aaron had to smack me across the face to wake me up a little bit to like make sure that I could be in the moment a little bit more turned up as Gator McGraw. But I was just kind of like being in the moment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you were kind of Mike in the ring.
Yeah.
And he had to say, hey, you know, let's
Yeah.
get you back to Gator so you can perform.
Yeah.
Mike Kinney isn't a wrestler.
Right. Yeah. Thank God for that.
You're just not.
Yeah.
But Gator McGraw is a wrestler. You got to get into that mindset.
Yes.
Sometimes you got to get in character.
Sometimes you do. And it took, you think about that whole thing all year long. I remember the very first part of 2025 getting ready to go to my first independent wrestling show where I knew I was going to be involved. There was a whole altercation between me and Aaron. I was so nervous, dude. I was so nervous. I wasn't confident about it whatsoever. But I will tell you this, confidence is not built by motivation. It's built by repetition, and it creates alignment with who you really are. And that's what happened over the entire year was we built up to that match. I worked so hard in the ring training for it. I worked so hard in the gym. I mean, I'm still like, there's a lot of things that I picked up along the way that have created really good habits for me. But again, it was built by repetition. And that was the most important thing. I had to do it over and over and over again. And that's what helped me get aligned with who I really decided to be at that day of that show. That was all up to me.
Absolutely was. Nobody else could do it for you.
Oh, yes. Well, hey, listen. In terms of next steps, here's what we're going to do. I think that it would be best if we wind this one down. And you and I also have to figure out. So, folks, if you haven't been to our Patreon already and watched some of these bonus episodes that Randy and I have done, we just had a great one for the month of January where we interviewed a friend of ours from our past who is a wrestling promoter and has done all these things, really great things. We had an awesome interview, and that's up right now on our Patreon. You can go over there. For $3 a month, you can see all of these additional episodes that we're doing. Randy and I have some planning to do to figure out what our February episode is going to be, but I think it has to be all about love, baby, in some way. February being Valentine's Day.
VD.
Truly. And so we have some planning to do for that and some execution as well. But if you're interested at all, we would really appreciate if you would head out and over to Patreon. The URL for it is patreon.com/wrestling with tomorrow. You can jump in for $1 a month. $1 a month allows you access into our private Facebook group, and you get our notes from every one of these episodes that we drop in there. For $3 a month, you get both of those things, and you get access to those bonus pods. So if you enjoy this, they're all in video format.
Hey,
and,
the beautiful thing now is if you would join in, you got quite a catalog of special episodes for you to watch at your leisure.
That's true.
Or to binge.
You could certainly binge them. They're about an hour long a piece. At this point, we have 5 or 6 already in there. So there's
some of my best material.
No doubt.
Yeah.
And on that one, it is uncensored. It is uncut. I mean, it's raw, if you will.
Don't make it sound so dirty.
That is the original WWF.
Not from Poughkeepsie. It's not just
WWF Raw. That was it's uncut. It's uncensored. It's
uncircumcised.
Oops. Yes. Listen, if you want to continue to follow and support this pod, we would definitely appreciate it. We're on Instagram. The handle over there is at wwt.pod. The TikTok, you can find us at Wrestling with Tomorrow. For me personally, my Instagram at Gator McGraw, MAGRAW. My new website has launched. Go over and take a look at it. It is at kinneyconfidence.com. And I got one more thing I got to ask all of you. If any of you out there know of a meeting planner, an event planner, someone who is booking speakers to do a keynote speech at any events that you're at or they're at, hey, introduce me. Let's get this thing going. I'm trying to get out there on the road. I've gotten some things, some traction already. So 2026 is looking it's looking pretty good so far, man. I got a couple of things in the hopper that are actually kind of cool. But again, all of my contact info, you can hit me up through the social medias or you can get through the website. Also, I have a limited amount of the micro brawlers left. If you want one of those, you can get those at strictlygator.com. And Randy is putting pens in his pubic hair laden goatee. Is that what it is? Randy, where can they find you on social medias?
Yeah, you can find my website, www.mikeyisrudeaf.com. But if you really want to find me on Instagram, it's Randy_Harig_wrestling W tomorrow.
Wow.
And you know what? Get a hold of those guys and tell them that I need a check mark on there because their jealousy is unmatched. They will not do it. I don't know what their problem is, but if you can help me get that blue check mark, I'll give you a crisp high five if I see you.
You know,
shut up.
Oh boy.
For Christ's sakes. I'm also on Facebook, Randy Harig on Facebook, of course. Hit me up on there too.
You keep talking about
you may go ahead.
This blue check mark. You do know that it is not the same thing as when you were in school specifically and they would write Randy and put check marks next to it. It's not the same thing.
Yeah, I never got that, dude.
Baloney. You never got your name written on the board.
Yep, never got a check mark though. I wasn't a hooligan.
You know what? Like I said, Miss Smith is dead.
I wasn't a pizza chip like you.
Dude, I was regular with the check marks. I really was.
Skid I'm not joking marks.
About that. Yeah. Only when I had to tell my mom about the check marks, because then it was, I had shit in my pants over that.
We had one kid that celebrated good times with that. And I think one day he had 8 check marks.
8 check marks?
He's like on and on and on and on and on.
So I don't know where you guys come from, but in my world, 3 strikes, you're out rule. You get 3 check marks, it's detention. And detention, you don't want to have to tell my dad that he's got to drive all the way from our farm, come all the way into Austin to pick me up because I couldn't keep my mouth shut in class. And trust me, that had to happen.
Drive in from Mayberry to.
The first time I got detention was 4th grade. 4th grade. Can you believe that? Who's giving out detention to 4th graders? Who? You know who?
Fun fact.
Mrs. Hagen. That's who. Mrs. Hagen handing out, and she was a sub.
See, she had a chip on her shoulder then just because she was a sub. Fun fact about your boy. First 6 years, all the way through 6th grade, I had perfect attendance.
That's because your dad's a cop.
No, that's because my mom would whip, yeah.
That I believe. Yep. All right, man. It is that time.
Well, it's that time again.
It is only time and only suiting for you.
Hey, let me ask you this now. Back to the famous celebrities. Where would you think like Elon Musk would fit on the thing?
I'm not answering any of those kinds of questions on this podcast.
I'm just saying.
I'm not doing it.
All right.
Ask me an easy one. Ask me one like
that was
Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan. Where's Michael Jordan fit on it? Performer or character?
All of the above.
Okay. Which one?
Think?
I think that he's probably more of a performer than he was a character. And
he is larger than life though, dude. He's the GOAT.
Sure. I agree with that.
He has become basketball.
For sure.
Like, wasn't a player for basketball.
And now,
now with basketball that's Michael Jordan.
And we've got people out there right now going, "Oh no, it's LeBron." It's not LeBron, guys. It's not LeBron James.
I'm going to tell you this without going into statistics. Every time Michael Jordan led a team to the finals, they won. I'll leave it right there. He never did shit the bed.
There you go.
Just saying.
Jordan's the GOAT.
6 times,
Jordan's the
dude.
GOAT. Send us off, Randy.
And you're not even a basketball guy.
No, I'm not.
No, see, now that I brought up Elon Musk, though, I gotta finish that. I can't leave it unsaid.
Yes, you can.
Horse shit. And I don't mean this in any derogatory, crappy way. But don't you think that he has a little flair to him that when he announces something or comes up with something new, that he likes the spotlight? So maybe him and his team perform, but there is that little bit of a character to him. I don't mean that in a crappy way.
There are 100 other examples you can use that are non-politically fueled.
He's not politically fueled.
Oh, please.
He's a company owner. I'm not talking politics. We can talk politics. They're all a bunch of characters.
Okay.
Everybody, all of them. Just saying. But yeah, not trying to get in trouble. I'm just like, as a thing, like he's a guy that is kind of a character too. But is what it is.
I'm so proud of you. You had very few sniffles in this episode. You just had the one cough. You must be on the mend. If you don't send us home, I'm just going to do it. So that's your thing. Send us home.
All right, people. Thanks for tuning in again. This is your first time? Go back and start watching them. Start like at the part where I came in.
Oh, no, you can start before that.
And then, I mean, you can if you got time to, you're bored.
They're good.
Also, please consider the Patreon. We got a lot of good stuff on there. But thanks again for watching. We appreciate you. Clay, thanks for the good, kind words. I haven't seen you for a long time. Hope things are well with you. That goes for everybody else. Keep your heads down with all the stuff that's going on. Keep yourself safe. And we're going to see you here at the next one. Thanks.